Right, so big breaking news in the Championship at the end of this prediction stream is it has now been confirmed that Hull City have sacked manager Grant McCann. The timeline here is that the takeover was complete, the Turkish takeover, I think prior to the game against Blackburn, which I think was last Wednesday, wasn't it? So about a week ago, Hull then had that brilliant win, back-to-back wins, in fact, against two teams that have both occupied second in the table this past week, in terms of beating Blackburn and then Bournemouth away from home as well at the weekend. We then we saw a Turkish journalist with a blue check mark by his name on Twitter saying that Grant McCann had gone. I think that was possibly on Sunday night. We're on Tuesday now as I'm saying this. It's been very leaky from Hull this morning, and Sky Sports went with it much earlier in the day. But we can confirm now that Grant McCann has been sacked. So we're going to head over to the Hull website and read from their statements. Please get your thoughts in the chat about the firing of Grant McCann. I'm going to read you from the statement. Hull City can confirm we have parted company with head coach Grant McCann. Grant joined the club in June 2019, won 53 of 136 games in a 2.5-year spell. I'm just going to quickly jump in there. June 2019, of course, Nigel Adkins was the manager, and that was the end of the parachute payments. And we often see a change of manager. Look at Swansea this season. When the parachute payments run out, Hull had come down from the Premier League, hadn't they? Adkins, I think, got the last of it in that season. If I'm correct, it would have been 17, 18, 18, 19 that Hull were getting the parachute payments. They would have only got 2 years for only being 1 year up in the Premier League after Steve Bruce got them up, didn't he, with that Mo Diame goal in the 15-16 playoff final. Am I getting all my years in the right order? Sometimes I get a wrong year. Someone will correct me in the chat, won't they? For sure. And of course, the story for Grant McCann in that first season was cost cutting. And then famously in January, with Hull probably halfway up the table, weren't they? They may have just been in the bottom half. I don't know the exact number. But Jared Bowen, who's now tearing it up in the Premier League with West Ham, and Kamil Grzycki, the two inside forwards for Hull, who were disproportionately responsible for their goal output and creative outlay, were both sold in January, weren't they? Hull off the cliff. And their form towards the end of that season was so bad, it wasn't even funny. That coupled with, do you remember, it's a high tide, wasn't it? Wigan went down with the points deduction. But I think, and again, actually, no, I've got the numbers up on the wall here. Charlton, 48 points. So 49 was the survival number there. So wrong place, wrong time. Hull went down with 45, and I'm the one who sits here every week saying 45 to survive. Anyway, brilliant bounce back from Grant McCann, and he won League One. He knows the job with Keane Lewis Potter and Malik Wilkes and Josh McGuinness as a three, and Greaves at centre half, and Honeyman fashioned a decent team and won the division. So we're now back into this season, and I'll pick up the statement again. The 41-year-old, Christ, isn't he 41? Guided the Tigers to promotion. There you go. Leaves the club 19th in the Championship. That 19th is a fairly safe-looking 19th, I have to say. They've won the last two games. They're 10 points off the relegation zone. Remember, two teams have had points deductions as well. Reading have had 6 and Derby have had 21. So we think possibly a low tide. And for Hull to be sat at 29 points after 27 games, given that the likes of Peterborough and Barnsley are well below that, and Derby are fighting the 21, and Reading are also below Hull, it would have to be a very bad run for whoever does indeed come in. Chairman and owner, excuse me, any Turkish watchers, but I'm going to butcher this. Akan Ilkali or Ilchali, I don't know whether it's a ch or a k. Grant has done an excellent job for this football club in difficult circumstances, most specifically during the takeover process, and for that I offer my sincere thanks. These matters are never easy and are more often than not protracted. During the process, Grant has always remained professional, sounds like he was always going to get fired, doesn't it? Focused on the team and will forever be a friend of the Tigers. I'm sure Grant will be successful in whatever his next challenge is. However, now is the time for change and for me to start to build in what I believe will be an incredibly exciting time for the club. I have a philosophy and a belief. There we go. Philosophy and project in the same sentence there, as we mean to carry on, that involves having my team in place. I understand the timing may look odd after 2 good wins, but I wouldn't be fair or honest if I merely waited for a defeat to change manager. Fair enough. That benefits nobody. I will continue to be transparent with you, our fans. Our new head coach will be announced very shortly. Not we're looking, not we're going through an exhaustive search. It sounds like they know who the new head coach already is, and they'll be announced very soon. We can also confirm Cliff Byrne is going to leave the club with immediate effect. So, look, my reaction to all of this, and again, it's going to be fairly similar to what we were talking about with Watford yesterday, isn't it? First of all, I respect anybody who buys a football club is entitled to put their manager in to run it. I totally respect that. If I buy a house, it can be decorated with beautiful, ornate furnishings, but as soon as I've bought it, it's my freedom of choice to put whatever wallpaper and horrible ornaments up that I like. So I totally respect the choice of the owner. And honestly, that trumps much of the conversation, doesn't it? You can analyse what McCann did or what he would be able to do in the future. You can analyse that all day long. But it doesn't matter, does it? Because it's a new owner and they want their guy. And he's been quite plain about it. You know, why would I wait just for the manager to lose a game? I want my own guy in, which is his prerogative. And I do respect. However, ruthless and harsh that comes to Grant McCann. So has Grant McCann done a good job? I would say so. I know some Hull fans found him a bit stubborn, not switching from the 4-3-3 whenever he went to a 3 at the back this season. It seemed to garner some better results, didn't it? But look, he had his legs cut out, didn't he? He knew what he was getting into when he took it after Adkins under the alarms. That also brought its own assurances, though, because he knew he wasn't going to get the boot, didn't he? But he had his legs cut out when Bowen and Grzycki were sold that first season. And he did a fine job. Look, he won League One, didn't he? So I think McCann leaves with his stock high. So I think that works quite well for him. He's got a relegation that can be put down to terrible sales in the wrong time in the season and a high tide as well, like we mentioned with the points totals. And then he's got a League One championship to his name. So I suspect, I have a hunch that he'll go in at a high League One job rather than a low-end championship job. I just don't think he's done enough at championship level. I don't know. Someone may come in and hire him, but I think some high League One club in the top 6 there, I think those are the jobs he'll be linked with soon. I might be wrong about that. And, you know, let me know if you think that that's unfair and he should be going in higher up. What does it mean for Hull? Well, who knows? And we hear all these sorts of proclamations from new owners when they come in. Philosophy, project, my team. The devil's in the detail. We don't know, do we? We don't know. He could bring in exactly the right guy and invest and all of that good stuff. And Hull could move from being a bottom 6 championship team up the table by whatever distance. Everyone will remember at Hull, Leonid Slutsky. It could be completely the wrong guy as well. So we will find out. And I suspect the only way the Hull fans will be behind this decision is if they're out of the bottom 6 by the end of the season, isn't it? And I'm sure if this goes the wrong way and Hull are either embroiled in a relegation fight or do indeed go down, which honestly, can you see enough teams in that current bottom 5 of Barnsley, Derby, Peterborough, Reading, Cardiff getting enough points and it's a 10-point gap? I don't know. I think he's... look, he was always going to fire him from what he's said, but I think he's coming from a bit of a position of strength. So look, to conclude, from a human angle, it's ruthless and I feel some sympathy for Grant McCann. but also I have to have the same level of empathy with the new owners, and it's their right to do it, whether it's harsh or seems tough on McCann. So I have to balance both up there and say that two things can be true. It is harsh, but it's their right to do it. And it's almost now, where are they at the end of the season? If they're above 6 bottom and trending in the right direction, it'll all look fine, won't it? If not, it's going to look like a bad call. And to reiterate, I suspect Grant McCann might appear at the top of League One rather than in the bottom half of the Championship. Who knows? That is my reaction to the firing of Grant McCann, the now former Hull City manager.